Our four mysteries tonight are connected by common threads. Unexplained circumstances, deceit, the suggestion of foul play. At the heart of each is a husband and a wife. These mysteries will be difficult to solve, but the stakes are high when people's lives are involved. Perhaps you can help. We've recreated the events of each story in precise detail in the hope that someone, somewhere, knows the truth. Join me. You may be able to help solve a mystery.
From Omaha, Nebraska, the capital city of the historic Haunted Heartland, my name is Brian Corey, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all, young and old, to this special episode of the world-famous Necronomicast. There are few television shows that have woven themselves into the very fabric of American culture like Unsolved Mysteries. The music, storytelling, and of course the iconic host Robert Stack have enthralled audiences for decades. Tonight, my guest is the co-creator and executive producer of the show, Terry Dunn Meurer. We'll trace the history of the show from its beginnings to the brand new season that premieres on Netflix on October 2nd. It's more than a television program. Unsolved Mysteries is an institution built upon solving the strangest mysteries on Earth. So join me and Terry Dunn Meurer, a pioneering television legend, on this episode of Necronomicast. And now, calling in on the Necronomicast Newsmaker Hotline, I'm so excited to have on the program one of the co-creators of one of the most influential shows, especially to a podcast like mine, to a guy like me. I'm super excited to welcome Terry Dunn Meurer on the show. Terry, thank you so much for your time and appearing on my program.
No, thank you for having me. I'm always happy to talk about Unsolved.
When I was asked if we could do this, and I was so excited because I was just thinking back, like when I was a kid, I'm talking 12 years old, it was 1987, and I was really into things like ghosts and monsters and Bigfoot and then missing people cases and like all kinds of things. And my parents raised me on true crime. My mom read those salacious true detective magazines and the ominous music and Raymond Burr and Carl Malden and then Robert Stack, the great Robert Stack, in my living room, giving me all these cases and showing me ways that I might be able to help solve a mystery. It was such influential television and so formative to me growing up, and having you on the program, what a treat.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I think mystery has been part of my life from my youth as well. And it's been interesting to see how my career has kind of evolved around that interest in mysteries. I grew up reading Nancy Drew and Fate magazine and True magazine, all of those kind of magazines that were out there back in the day. And I don't know why, I'm just wired that way. It's not, it's just, I've just always been like that since I was very young.
Well, I've always been interested in, like I said, ghosts and monsters and UFOs and Unsolved Mysteries had it all. Unexplained deaths and hauntings and miracles, stories about miracles and UFOs and legends, murders. There were shows like, America's Most Wanted and Cops, which showed like cases to help, you can help solve them or be in the car with law enforcement, like with cops. But Unsolved Mysteries was such a great time of television in the 80s. You also had the Time Life books of Mysteries of the Unknown and all that. It was just such a great time. Then Art Bell started syndicating worldwide. So it was so influential to me, especially with like I said, In Search Of. That was such a big thing too. So all these years later, we have this wonderful renaissance of bringing Unsolved Mysteries back, and it's found a new home on Netflix, a worldwide platform, streaming on demand. People can go to it whenever they want. Can you talk a little bit about like taking this wonderful franchise, taking this wonderful show of Unsolved Mysteries and bringing it back and finding a home on Netflix? And I'm so glad you did.
Well, we were thrilled when Netflix was interested in bringing back Unsolved, and we were excited and still are excited about the changes that we made to the brand. Back in the day, we would do 4 episodes plus an update in 1 hour, and now we're doing 1 episode in 45 minutes, and it allows us to do a deeper dive into those episodes. I think the downside of that is that we don't solve as many cases because we aren't putting as many out there to be solved, but we still enjoy the deeper dive. We decided it was hard to fill Robert Stack's shoes, so we made the decision to not bring in a host or a narrator. And that, I think, that allows the people in the stories to tell their own stories themselves a little bit more. So we're really happy with the way the brand has evolved, having now being on Netflix.
One thing I was wondering about, when the show started in the 80s and continued like through the 90s, there wasn't like the internet, and there wasn't like discussion groups online. There wasn't like the ways people share information like they do now. And so like with Unsolved Mysteries, you had a tip line. People could watch the show, and if they saw anything or knew anything, they could, contact the show, which led to law enforcement or investigators. But now with the internet and people discussing these cases, like watching Unsolved Mysteries, old ones and the new ones, but watching them and being able to get on message boards or get on social media and share particular episodes or cases, how's that impacted the show?
Well, it creates more conversation. Yeah, it used to be that it would just air on NBC 1 hour and you couldn't rewatch it. You couldn't rewind. You just it was appointment television. Usually it was, I think, Wednesday nights at 8:00. Now people can go back and they can look at the clues and they can do a deeper dive themselves. And, I think people have always enjoyed talking about the mysteries. We do. And as we're developing the cases, we know that that's a good case when we're all, batting around the different theories of the different suspects. So we can understand why the viewers want to be able to do that too. So I think that the internet has given everyone an opportunity to chat about the cases and to throw in their theories and their ideas. I think there's a danger, though, I would say sometimes that, people, we have to be very careful that we're not pointing the finger at a particular suspect or something. And we always want to make sure that we're being careful about that, because until someone has their day in court, they're innocent until proven guilty. So we never want any of the viewers to pick up on some suspect and kind of go after them, which can happen in the media these days. So we do our best to not have that happen. Be very, very careful in how we portray anybody who could be considered a suspect.
So when people have a case that they want to let you know about or to contribute to the tip line, how do you guys go through, can you walk me through how the tip line works? Because with the internet, people are sending in things all the time. I bet your inbox is inundated with requests or all this information about different cases.
We get thousands of tips. It used to be, it was viewer mail. Back in the very beginning, we would get bags and bags of viewer mail at our huge big bag sacks full of mail. And we would have a research team go through those, every single letter. And sometimes it was a story submission. Sometimes it was just a comment about a show. We've had strange things mailed to our offices back in the day. And then we had now all the tips and thoughts and comments go to unsolved.com. And we have a team that just goes through every single email and be it a tip that we would pass on to law enforcement or a suggestion for a story. That's where we get a lot of our stories.
Amazing. One thing popped in my head when you were talking. Did you ever in the day or even now, you feature a lot of unsolved murders? There's even one on this new season that debuts on October 2nd. Do you ever possibly get something from a suspect? The BTK killer would taunt the police. The Zodiac killer would taunt the police. I didn't know if anybody from any case that you reviewed or featured, if you got something creepy that you had to immediately send to law enforcement.
I don't think we've ever gotten a tip that we think along those lines. No cryptic Zodiac type tips. We send everything. I mean, there's some cases. There's some tips that come in and someone says, "Oh, I think I saw so-and-so at the Walmart 3 years ago." We don't send those tips to law enforcement because there's nothing they can do with them. But if there's a specific lead, one of the great things about being on Netflix is that we can, people go back and rewatch the other episodes. So in season 2, we did a story about a woman named Tammy Williams who killed her boyfriend, allegedly killed her boyfriend. She's still wanted by the U.S. Marshals. She she can run, but she can't hide because people are going to rewatch these episodes, and she's still vulnerable. Again, going back to the old episodes, you see them once on NBC, and they come and they go, and you might see them again in a rerun. But other than that, you wouldn't necessarily be able to rewatch them. And now people can rewatch these episodes, and we're hoping that there'll be more cases that are solved because of that.
Well, I was doing a little research, and it looked like at one point you guys had over 260 cases solved just through airing them on Unsolved Mysteries and getting tips from viewers. Like, you contributed to at least 260 solved cases through the television program. That's amazing.
Yeah, we're very, very proud of that. Definitely. And those are cases that are solvable. A lot of the cases are a UFO case. That's not solvable, or Mothman is not solvable. Well, it might be, but unlikely. So those are it's like 25% of all the cases we've ever profiled have been solved. Now, not all of those have been solved because of our show. There's, with the advent of DNA testing, which wasn't really happening. It wasn't a big thing early on in the first years of Unsolved. Now DNA, people are going back and they're being able to solve cases with DNA and CODIS, and technology has evolved. So, but yeah, of all the cases we profiled, it's still great to get to hear that one of the cases got solved. It's so gratifying when we hear that one of the cases has been solved. It's just kind of proof of concept that someone out there knows the truth.
Yeah, and even like having that spotlight on a case must be very reassuring to a family in a lot of ways. Yes, it might open up some wounds, but it's getting that information about the disappearance or the murder or whatever about their loved one out in the public arena once again, so people can talk about it, think about it, theorize about it, and hopefully collaborate with law enforcement to bring somebody to justice. So it does a great service.
Well, yeah, we've always considered ourselves kind of a program of last resort, because a lot of these cases, when leads aren't coming in, law enforcement has nothing to work with. So what we do is generate leads and tips, and then hopefully the law enforcement diligently goes out and follows up every single one of those leads and those tips. And it's not like a case is going to get solved immediately the day after it's launched. It's sometimes, there's case there. We know law enforcement is working on some of the cases that that they've gotten a lot of tips on some of the cases that from the episodes we launched in July. They don't have a solve yet, but we're fingers crossed. So it sometimes it takes some time, but what we always try and encourage the viewers to just, even if a lot of people probably like, oh, I don't know, maybe it's nothing, but we just encourage everyone to, no matter what the tip is, no matter how small they think the lead might be, to let us know so we can get that to law enforcement and see if the case can be solved.
I love the true crime aspect of it. I also love the paranormal and the unexplained mystery part of it. Now, you mentioned Mothman a second ago, and in the season or volume 4, you had an episode about the mystery of Mothman. And one of the investigators that was featured on that show, Tobias Wayland, will be a guest on my program. And we've already recorded it, but we're putting it out later. But talking about Mothman, you had a paranormal expert, Don Phillips, on this volume that comes out in October. So the mysteries, these wonderful mysteries that of the unexplained, anomalous paranormal phenomena, psychics and ghosts and monsters and harbingers of doom. It's not just true crime. It's like the mysteries of life portrayed right there on Unsolved Mysteries.
I think that that's one of the reasons that Unsolved has been successful over the years, is because we profile a lot of different kinds of mysteries. You mentioned America's Most Wanted earlier, which is definitely does a great service in trying to bring fugitives to justice. But but that's just one category of story. We try and pepper in some wanted cases as well, but that's just wanted is just one of our categories. So yeah, I think that there's people who love the true crime, and then there's just as many people who love the paranormal cases. We hope that they'll watch all of them, but yeah, it's we love the paranormal, and all aspects of it.
I have had a lot of fun not only watching these new episodes that are on Netflix now, but going back like on Tubi. Like on Tubi, I can go back and watch the Robert Stack episodes, and it's just so much fun. Like, and it's also neat, like how well they stand up through the test of time. You know, like how television programming has changed and tastes have changed, but like it ages so well. Like these shows from the '90s, I'm just as captivated now watching them. These kind of reruns streaming as I was when I was a kid, and then I'm like really, engaged watching the brand new ones. Like that's a great testament of like having this consistency all the way through the history of the show. This consistency of product or content all the way through.
I agree with you. I'm just amazed that the audience that the audience still goes back, like on Tubi or YouTube, and watches the old episodes. One time, funny story. I was working out of town. I was in a hotel room, and at night I was just kind of clicking through channels, and I landed on I went, oh, that's interesting, and then I realized it was Unsolved Mysteries. I was like, oh, I know that story. Anyway, it's there's something about it. I guess it's because of all the twists and turns, and it's there's so much true crime out there, but a lot of the cases have been adjudicated, and they have an ending. But I think that's what keeps Unsolved going, is that they're mysteries, and people are very, very intrigued by, was this a homicide? Was this an accident? Or maybe they've seen Mothman, or they think they've seen Mothman. But it's also fun to do an episode like Mothman now and go back, and people can go back and look at the old episode that we did about Point Pleasant, West Virginia, back in the day. So yeah, it's the Mothman episode is almost like an update, I guess, the current what's happening with Mothman now. Mothman's in Chicago. We think that's interesting, and we think that's fun. We're also doing an update of the Roswell case in the episodes that launch October 2nd.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to get to that new volume, or the new series, volume 5 season of Unsolved Mysteries that's on Netflix starting October 2nd. Like episode 1, a terrible murder investigation, park bench murders. Episode 2, we got Don Phillips, the paranormal partner, which I don't call myself like an expert on the paranormal by any means, but I follow a lot of people in the paranormal. I read tons of literature. I belong to different psychical and research organizations, but that was incredible story of all that, how it changes from a guy that might have a little psychic ability, or he's very in tune with the spiritual world, and then we walk down the road perhaps of even possession, but it keeps all the avenues open and keeping all of this a mystery. Yeah,
that was a challenging story, because it's so important that the people that we portray come off as credible, and we met with Don, and we really thought, it's hard to wrap your head around the fact that he has this ghostly partner who helps him in his paranormal investigations. You've seen the episode. Her name, I'm not giving anything away by saying her name is Becky. But funny, we talked to Don recently, and we said, oh, we haven't shown him the episode yet. But he said, yeah, don't worry about it. Becky's already seen it, and she says it's great.
And it's easy for people that haven't seen it yet to kind of laugh and like, what? But I watched the episode, and I'm like, well, it is great. So Becky's not wrong. And B, like, yeah, Becky's got a Netflix preview account or something like that. It's just so strange,
I know. Don is a character, but it's hard to discount. Same with Mothman. We would not have done the Mothman story if we had not found witnesses to Mothman, current witnesses to Mothman, who we felt were very, very credible and truly believed what they saw. There's a lot of people out there that make stuff up, and we're very careful about that. But we try and just do stories, especially in the paranormal world, where people are very credible, and you can tell they've been traumatized by an event, and are willing to talk about it. That's amazing too. Sometimes a lot of people are like, oh, I think I know what I saw, but I'm not going to say anything about it. I don't want people to think I'm crazy. But it's nice that there are some people out there that are willing to talk about it.
Oh, yeah. I'm the host and MC of the Nebraska Bigfoot Conference. And so I hear all these kinds of stories all the time. And I talk to people who think that their homes are haunted. And so many people, they just want to tell their story and they just want to be heard. And they're not trying to make money off it. They're not trying to get famous. They're certainly not crazy or under the influence of anything. But some people just experience something. They don't know what it is. And they want somebody to listen to them, and they just want to share that information. So I was very excited that you had Tobias on there, and you were talking about Mothman. I started researching Don Phillips after watching that episode. Then you've got other episodes that are coming up on this new season, this new volume. The mysterious mutilations, cattle mutilations. I just had a researcher from Colorado on that. She was talking about Snippy the horse, and Snippy the horse is featured on this episode. That's I think number 3. And then there's a great episode about the ongoing mystery of Roswell, the UFO. And just when you think you've heard it all about Roswell, along comes a new episode of Unsolved Mysteries that just kind of turns a page a little bit and gets you even more engaged.
That's what we try and do. I will tell you that the mysterious mutilations story is probably the most mysterious of any case I've ever done. And we've done 1,300 cases. There is no explanation that anyone has been able to come up with for that. It's the first story where I say, the most logical explanation is UFOs. And I believe in UFOs, but it's for me to be saying that, it just shows you how bizarre that mystery is. And it was a challenge to find some of these ranchers to talk about it, because they like to keep to themselves and they don't want it to be public. But it's enough of an issue, and it's enough of a trauma for them to lose their cattle this way, that they were willing to talk to us about it. And it's something that's been going on for decades. It's not just one person that's out there. And these cows are found, I could go on forever, but these cows are found miles. These ranches are huge. They're not just by the side of the road. They're found miles into the terrain of Eastern Oregon. How is someone getting in there to mutilate these cows in such a consistent way? That one boggles my mind.
Yeah. And it got really creepy for me real quick when the guy said, well, this has been going on for 40, 50, 60 plus years. So if there is any kind of nefarious, human element to it, like some kind of cult or anything like that, it's multi-generational. Like, this has been going on for so long. It's not, and like you said, it's just so widespread, huge open spaces of land happening for decades and decades. I mean, I can't think of a more correct use of the word mystery than talking about cattle mutilations. And it's really just so bizarre.
I totally agree. I hope the viewers watch that episode, because it's a bit graphic. We tried to be careful with that. And I don't want people to say, well, who cares about a cow? Because it's a mystery. I mean, you kind of care about these cows. It's not a good way to go if you're a cow.
No. And like these ranchers, it's such an investment, and this is their livelihood, and they care for the animals. I mean, a rancher treats his cattle, with respect, and for them to go out and find out what's been happening to their livestock, you can tell that they're angry, they're scared, they're bewildered. It's amazing.
Yeah, they really are. It's a shame. They love their way of life, and they feel it's an invasion of their space. It's a crime. Mutilating a cow is a crime. So it fits into the true crime genre for sure, and also the mystery genre. So it's almost a combination of both.
Terry, when you're sitting around the big conference table at your production company and you got all these cases and you're deciding what to do for the different seasons and different volumes and different shows, like what makes you interested, like in a case or a situation, and what's the criteria of a good unsolved mysteries case that you want to bring to the public?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, it's the if it's a paranormal case, it's the credibility of the witnesses. If it's a true crime case, we're looking for cases that have multiple theories or multiple suspects. We're looking for the victims' families who are very relatable, or a case that just hasn't gotten enough widespread publicity. The park bench murders case that's coming up October 2nd. Those two families it was a double homicide. They really, really, really wanted the publicity, and we had to talk law enforcement into doing it, because sometimes law enforcement wants to keep their leads and keep their information very close to the vest, but that case needs, or that's very solvable. That's another thing we look for, is how solvable is this case. So we're looking for cases that we've never heard of. I think the cases that a lot of us find the most interesting are the unexplained death cases, which are was it a murder or an accident? Was it a murder or a suicide? What happened here but we also do murder cases and missing persons cases, wanted fugitive cases. So we're looking also, there's a lot of things we look for, but also a variety of types of cases, so that the audience feels like the next episode that comes up is going to be different than the previous episode.
Sure. And that case that you mentioned, the park bench murders in Ohio with Kate Brown and Carnell Sledge, such good reporting on your part, because earlier you said, you got to be, careful. You want to be responsible, especially when quote unquote suspects arise. So when somebody was introduced in the story, you kind of introduced how they're part of the story, but also you were very quick and very fair with how they were, dismissed as subjects, but you did bring in, because no stone left unturned. If you're going to solve a mystery, you got to look everywhere. And so I thought that was really responsible. But what a tragic story, that park bench murder case.
Oh yeah, and that case is such a mystery. We don't know why they met, why they were meeting in the park. It happened in broad daylight. That one is terrifying to people. They're out there with their jogging and with their children in strollers, and somebody comes up and just kills two people at point blank range. Who did that, and why? And they had only been sitting on that bench for about 5, 6, 7 minutes before they were killed. It feels like some kind of hit, because if you wanted to kill Nell, you could do that somewhere else. You wouldn't have to kill Kate, or vice versa. You could kill Kate and not Nell, but to kill them both, it's a mystery. And they just who did that? That one's troubling to me, that case.
Yeah, and what a great season that's coming up October 2nd on Netflix worldwide. You got aliens, cattle mutilations, murders, ghosts, ESP, telepathy, like all these crazy things all wrapped up in 4 episodes. And, it's funny, like in the minute that we have together here left, my wife and I, we have 3 children, and, I hit play, either the Tubi stuff or the new Netflix stuff, and the theme music plays. And my wife is in another room. She goes, ooh, like she gets creeped out by it, because she knows what's coming. My son, who's 12 now, the age I was when I started watching it, he was watching some of it with me. So like this intergenerational, interesting programming that spans all these decades. And really the music, the content, how you guys package it and put it together, it's really been, it's just interwoven in the fabric of American culture, Unsolved Mysteries. And I really have to thank you and everybody at Netflix for allowing me this opportunity to talk to you, and really just to thank you too for putting together the show, because there would be no true crime paranormal podcasters out there like myself if it wasn't for those evenings as a kid watching Unsolved Mysteries.
Well, thank you. No, we're really proud of the show more than anything. I mean, we're proud of obviously the production value, but just what it's accomplished. All these years I've been involved for over 35 years in Unsolved Mysteries, and I still get excited about, being able to present a new case or having a case solved. So we're hoping it goes on forever. Just keeps solving mysteries.
All right. As this episode comes out, October 1st, I want everybody to make plans. Clear your schedule. Call the neighbors, wake the kids, get that Netflix subscription ready to go, and tune in to the next volume of episodes of Unsolved Mysteries. It's been my pleasure to have Terry Dunn Meurer on the show. Terry, thank you so much for your time. Honestly, an inspiration to me. And I just, I go outside at night and I look up at the stars looking for UFOs. I look in the woods for Bigfoot. I look in creepy houses for ghosts. And it's probably all because of what you created.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. It's been great to chat with you, Brian.
Well, there we go, everybody. Episode 282 of Necronomicast, featuring Terry Dunn Meurer, co-creator, the executive producer of Unsolved Mysteries. I'm just going to let that sink in for a little bit. I got to talk to the co-creator of Unsolved Mysteries on my podcast. Incredible opportunity. I'm so thankful to my friends at Netflix for helping make that a possibility, a reality. There would be no Necronomicast without, Unsolved Mysteries, In Search of, Art Bell. Nope. Wouldn't happen. I'll tell you what's going to happen next. Episode 283 of my special October programming is going to feature the return of Rob Caparozzi. Rob is the director of a brand new documentary, Dressing Up Halloween, the story of Ben Cooper Incorporated. All those great costumes from yesteryear highlighted in his new documentary. I had a great time talking to Rob, and I'm so excited to bring that conversation to you on October 15th and then on Halloween. Richard Estep returns to the program to talk about his brand new book, In Search of Demons. So make sure you got plenty of full-size candy bars ready to hand out, kids. October's going to be a humdinger. In a few days, Historic Haunted Heartland Part 3 with Dustin Perry, Joshua Darren, and John E.L. Tenney here in Omaha. I hope you're having fun in your neck of the woods. Have a great October. Have a great life. Have a great night. Now, go get some sleep.
Tonight's mysteries are stories without endings, all missing that one vital clue. Perhaps someone watching tonight knows what happened and can reveal the truth. Perhaps it's you.